What's going on, everybody? It's Mitch from We in Tennessee. And today's video, it's going to be all about bugs here in East Tennessee. That's going to be an issue, and it's something you need to consider if you're going to be moving here. We've definitely encountered things that we have never encountered before. And so today I'm going to show you what we've encountered and what we've used to fight back, if you want to say that, and then kind of just give you a real picture of what the bug situation's like for those of you that that can factor into your decision if you're coming out here. So the first one would be cicadas. We have never seen cicadas until we came out here to East Tennessee. We went to Virginia, we heard cicadas. Here in Tennessee we have cicadas, but in California we had never heard them before, and there's nothing you can do about it. On the plus side, we've gotten used to them. Where I started off being annoyed by them, like, wow, that thing's really loud, and it just felt like the sound was in your ear. But I've gotten so used to them, and I honestly don't see them. My wife, says that sometimes she'll see the cicadas dead on the ground, and I don't even see them. So, I don't think that is a deal breaker for anybody. There's nothing you can do about them. They're going to make that sound. It's only a seasonal issue. I mean, we don't hear them year round. And, they don't bother anybody unless you're just, you sleep underneath a tree that has, cicadas. I don't have an issue with them. So cicadas, check. Um, they're not an issue, and I don't think they're a deal breaker. Now comes my favorite, and I'm being very sarcastic. Favorite in the part where we've had the most issues, and it's the most stressful, and that would be the yellow jackets. We've had yellow jackets in California. In fact, that was my first encounter with a yellow jacket. I got stung, and I don't want to exaggerate, but the sting is worse than a honeybee sting. It just is more painful. It lasts longer. And so if you guys are new to this channel, 2 years ago, I was mowing the hill along the side of our, where we live here, and I mowed right over a yellow jacket hive. If you're not familiar with yellow jackets, they will actually make their nest. Unlike wasps or hornets, they actually will make their nest in the ground. And so that's what makes it so hard, is they're really hard to see unless you're just noticing that they're coming and going. But I mowed right over it. If you guys don't remember the story, when you're mowing and you maybe like run over a stick and it hits you in the foot or the leg, and you're like, ow. That's what I thought I did. I thought I had just hit a twig and it, poked me in the leg. I looked down and there's probably 6 or 7 yellow jackets on both of my ankles. And yeah, I still mow in shorts. That's just the way it goes. But they had just gotten into my shirt sleeve, up my shirt, up my shorts, into my ankles. It was the most painful thing I think I've ever experienced, unless it's, like a shot or something else. But just the yellow jacket sting was so painful, and it lasted a few days too. And so that's the stressful part, is just taking care of that after the fact. Like, once you know where the yellow jacket hive is, that's the part which freaked me out the very first time. I'm looking up online, and I told you guys before, I was quoted $400 for somebody to come out and take care of that. And I'm like, no, there's no way I'm paying that much. I mean, I know it's stressful, and I guess if you got the money, we don't got the money for that. And so I said, it's going to be up to me to take care of it. And so what you do is you basically go to your local hardware store, Walmart, and you're going to look for Spectracide.
Okay, I just sprayed the Spectracide for wasp and hornets and yellowjackets in there, and we'll just visit this tomorrow to see if we got them all.
People have a million different remedies for yellow jackets, and you know, I'm not the biggest fan of pouring gasoline down there. We tried the Dawn, it didn't work, and so this Spectracide, the thing I like about it is when you spray it into the hole, it foams up. So I don't worry about the yellow jackets coming up and trying to get me. If they do, they're going to have to fly through the foam, and then that's just going to automatically kill them anyway. So I spray it into the hive, and I'll be honest, I normally will get 2 cans because the first one usually does not kill all of them. It will diminish them, but I have always needed to do a second day of the spraying. And if you're wondering, not really day. I wait until like 8:30, 9 o'clock when I know that they are, most of them are going to be in the hive. I don't want to wake up at like 1 in the morning. I really don't. And so I just go out when it's dark, spray it down the hive, let it foam up, and then just repeat that the next day. Two, two usually will do the trick. And then you want to make sure you definitely destroy that hive. Somehow cave it in once you know all the yellow jackets are dead, so that they don't ever consider making that another home again. At the moment of this recording, there's one near our front porch. I'm going to need to make a second spraying tonight, and hopefully that does the trick. But no, I didn't worry about getting stung because, again, it's at night. They should be all sleeping or resting. And again, once you spray that foam into the hole, they shouldn't be coming out. What freaked me out is online, people are saying, well, be careful of a second, like a back door hole. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now you're really freaking me out. But the 2 times that I've sprayed, I've never had any yellow jackets come attack me. Usually there was just one entry, an exit entry kind of thing. And so that's usually the trick with those, but it's super stressful because those are the ones that will attack and like swarm. Um, wasp or hornets usually will not do that. But anyway, talking about wasp or hornets, that's going to be the next on the list as a very stressful thing, where they will sting and they will make those hives usually higher up, um, usually underneath the eaves of the roof, and that I would use a different thing. I would use either a foam or another type of spray where you just got to make sure you keep your distance. But usually when you spray, it just takes care of the hive, and usually that's a one and done.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk wasps. We saw this the other day, and I already sprayed it. I sprayed it with this stuff, and this stuff is amazing. I did use the whole can, so I just went out and bought another one. I thought I would go ahead and just spray that one more time just to be sure before I start knocking that down. But you can see they're all dead over here on the ground. And it just works right away. So it looks like they're all dead, but I'm gonna, yeah, like I said, spray that again before I even try to knock that thing down.
I usually don't have to spray again. I might spray a second time just to make sure, because I don't want to go and knock the hive down and have, somebody left in there to get me. But another thing that you need to do is make sure you knock that hive down because you don't want them coming back or somebody going, hey, let me make, let me rent out this place that somebody left for me. So um, that would be the second thing I would say is the most stressful is the wasp and hornets. Other than that, you might ask about spiders. We've encountered some pretty big spiders occasionally in the house, but nothing, nothing that you need to be fearful of unless you are super scared of spiders. Um, I know that out here you would have the brown recluse. I have never seen a brown recluse out here. So spiders, we don't have much issues with spiders. Other than that, we don't have many issues with bugs other than the yellow jackets and the wasp and hornets. But again, it might depend on where you live and what kind of vegetation or, what's around where you live. You might have issues with sweat bees. I've been stung a few times by sweat bees. My students have been stung by sweat bees, but it's not anything as painful as a yellow jacket or a honeybee, and they're super tiny. And again, all of these issues are seasonal. When the fall comes and the winter comes, that's when my wife and my daughters are like, "Yay, we don't have to worry about the bugs issues anymore." So that's all I have to really say about the bugs. If you think I forgot something, throw it down in the comment sections. But oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the fire ants. Man, I'm dealing with those right now. So you'll definitely know that you have an issue with fire ants when you see these dark mounds of dirt. I just kind of roll my eyes like, man, again. And this one's going to depend on how much money you have. I know there's different ways to treat things, kind of like the yellow jackets. If you got $400 and want somebody else to take care of it, so be it. Um, and the fire ants are the same way. There's some very expensive ways to handle that. I just will go to again, Walmart or someplace like a hardware store. They have this taro um, baits that you would just sprinkle around the ant hill.
Okay, for the fire ants, I use the taro ant killer, and it'll come in pellet form here. Okay, so I put the taro ant baits here, but it looks like somebody drove through on this ant hill. So that probably just spooked them and moved them over here. So that's kind of lame because now I don't know what's going to happen with this bait. Obviously I'm going to have to maybe reapply. And if we come down here, it looks like they might have already moved down to here.
I just kind of roll my eyes like, man, again. And this one's going to depend on how much money you have. I know there's different ways to treat things, kind of like the yellow jackets. If you got $400 and want somebody else to take care of it, so be it. Um, and the fire ants are the same way. There's some very expensive ways to handle that. I just will go to again, Walmart or someplace like a hardware store. They have this taro um, baits that you would just sprinkle around the ant hill, water it down. I usually take a spray bottle and just spray it down. I think the water kind of enhances the attractiveness of the baits. The fire ants will basically come up, take the food down, and basically annihilate the colony. I have gone back the next day and have just seen millions of fire ants just dead around the area. Um, but you just have to watch and be careful. They definitely will bite or, yeah, bite. If you get too close or, get them on you. I've had students before not even realizing that they're playing around a fire ant hill and they get bit. So, the fire ants are a little tougher to get rid of Unlike the yellow jackets, you usually will have just a certain spot where they're all inside. Fire ants, they'll branch out and have these underground tunnels, so they're a little harder to get rid of. And then one little thing you do, like one time I accidentally mowed over it, and then they're just going to move to another spot in the lawn. So we have never been able to eradicate our whole entire lawn of fire ants. We just will get a reprieve, but then we'll spot the hill again. So it's something you just put up with, just like the yellow jackets and the wasp, and then wait till the weather gets cold and they all just either hibernate or just die off until the summer or springtime comes again. So hopefully this was been eye-opening for those of you that would consider moving to East Tennessee with the bug issue. I know it's high up on the list because a lot of you mention the bugs, and it can be a deal breaker for some people, especially if they have phobias or if they have allergies where it could be a health issue. I totally get it. Um, but that's something that I'm hoping this video helps you with. So, okay, guys, thank you for joining me today. Hit that subscribe and that like button if you are loving this content. You're interested about East Tennessee or just, in this vicinity, and you just want to see more content. I bring a video. Usually, I really work hard at bringing you a video every Sunday. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you in my next video.